Hello, this is Joey Mitchell, and we are back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast, going over all the posts on the Libertarian Uncensored subreddit. First, we have the fascists have banned Comrade Chi-Town from Comrade Proton, and they say that's a self post. They said a sad day indeed. Comrade U slash Chi-Town Little 20 was the fiercest anti-fascist I've ever seen. As a libertarian socialist, I wish more people had his fanaticism. And I said, one guy said, why was he banned? I said, Reddit usually bans or suspends for incitement of violence. Probably supported Hamas a little too much. I personally didn't care too much for them, but I personally don't think we need to support free speech, and that includes speech that might otherwise be considered violence or violence or inciting of violence, I would say. And that's something that I don't think we should be justified suspending people over, just what words, because words aren't violence, words are just words. But people increasingly say words that they don't like should be misinformation or hate speech and should be illegal, so that's something that I personally don't care for. Then we have, is it ever okay to infringe on someone's rights, even if it's for a good cause, from Lars Mapstead on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, what did I say? I said, voted no as long as the NAP isn't being violated. I agree. I think we would agree that committing a mass shooting with the explicit intent to harm others is a NAP violation. If you could agree that if it falls under free expression. With that being said, I don't want what constitutes endangering to be so restrictive that no one can do pretty much anything at all. So that's important to remember as well. You say, because we can't just justify losing all our freedoms for safety. That's just not right. If you have a right to be as safe as you want, but that doesn't extend to other people. They're allowed to risk their lives as much as they want to, as long as they're not forcing other people to do so as well, I would say. Then we have Florida orders universities to deactivate pro-Palestinian group from Politico.com by Donald Key. And I said, definitely bad. We need to support free speech, even if it's for groups we despise like Nazis. Because those in positions of authority can define anything they don't like to be intolerance, and that's why I think we need to support as much free speech as possible. I personally don't care for people who justify genocide on either side of the Israel-Palestine debate, but we need to support their right to free speech to do so. Then we have Trump says he'll ban immigrants who don't like our religion from RollingStone.com. It's from Donald Key. And I said, for many people on both the right and the left, the state has become the church. It's a big problem in today's society. I don't care for Trump's rhetoric here, but if at the same time the Dems don't give a shit about the Constitution either, the difference is they call their religion things like science, LGBTQ rights, and anti-racism. If it's up to them, they would probably implement an ideological test as well. I was also going to say that, the same people who go, no human is legal, would suddenly call an illegal immigrant Hitler if they didn't think trans women were women. So, it just goes to show you that everyone wants their ideological biases always confirmed by all the people. If I was Trump, I would go the other way on immigration, say, get as much people in here as we can, because, maybe they won't be all the progressive types, and that would, try and derail their movement, I woy say. So, but, every people will justify it, they justify. People want to justify building a wall at the border, and they want the strength to maintain it. I guess, that's their prerogative, and, if people want to justify going, since they can still cross over anyway, it's their prerogative. I personally support, free travel and all that. I think we should make immigration as easy as possible, but, ultimately, people will justify what they justify. And we have, at what point do you own something? And I posted, that's a self-post, I said, to me, ownership is something that is very much physical. I think the only way you can own something is if you do so physically. It's why I would say that I'm very against copyright and intellectual property laws, Ultimately, why I think the internet is inherently unownable outside of its physical attributes. This post, for example, something that I can inherently possess. It is not something that is physical. False. And then I said what else uh I also said Um, you know, I do think that people should have be able to compensate for their work, but I don't think companies have the right to say what you can and can't do with their products. Case in point being Nintendo's term and guidelines just released for their video games, which I definitely think are too authoritarian and overreaching, Just because a company did produce something doesn't give it its rights to it forever, I would say. I think at the point of sale, the rights of it transfer, even if it's something that, an entertainment product, I would say. Then we have newest Speaker of the House candidate looks just as authoritarian as the rest. And yeah, I personally what did I say? I said where is it? Is there anything here? Parford, the course, sadly, they are all pretty much interchangeable. All politicians are pretty much interchangeable, sadly. And that's something that this new Speaker of the House, he's just gonna be just pretty much the same one as the last one. They're all pretty much the same person, who just wants power and doesn't really care about anything else. Then we have 6 reasons libertarians should reject the non-aggression principle from Clorox, and I personally would disagree with that. I think we need to support the non-aggression principle as long as I think people should be allowed to, do what they want as long as they're not hurting anyone else. And I think violating the NAP is inherently hurting other people. That's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, oh thank goodness, there's a new House Speaker. Now the Conservative Party can promptly ship the rest of my life savings abroad and start another war for America First or whatever, from Clint Russell on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, preach, they are all pretty much interchangeable. GOP needed to turn on the money faucet for Israel. Then we have, if you oppose the Patriot Act and invasion of Iraq, they called you anti-American. If you oppose the lockdowns and vaccine mandates, they called you anti-science. If you oppose endless funding for Israel, they call you anti-Semitic. Ignore their lies and preserve your liberty, from LP National on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, what did I say? It's always quite down there. I said, it's a classic strategy. Demonize anyone who dissents with you whatsoever so you can bully them into getting your way. Then we have, let's check in on Western liberal democracy, from Aaron McIntyre on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, this was him quote tweeting a tweet from ADF UK. Breaking: new footage obtained by ADF UK shows an officer employed by West Midlands Police investigating the thoughts of a Christian standing still and silently playing within an abortion facility, quote-unquote, buffer zone in Birmingham, 18th of October. And I said, just goes to show that the police will be willing to enforce whatever bullshit they are told. I remember Michael Malice knowing that the police will enforce any law whatsoever up to the mass execution of innocent children. It's important to remember that the Nazis were following orders as well. So, just because you're following orders doesn't mean you're doing the right thing. Because, the state can make any bullshit it wants into law, I personally wouldn't care for this either if it was for free expression of on the church's no gay zone property. But I think we need a lot of free expression everywhere as long as NAP is being violated. I agree, a lot of the more conservative people might view the church as the equivalent of the abortion clinic. But the thing is, I think we need to support free speech, and I think if the property owner wants to take offense to it and just wants to justify using force, I think you could have to make the argument they should be able to do so. But I personally think we need to support free speech whenever possible, even if it's speech we personally despise, because I think speech is a very important, something we need to defend. Also some people saying, oh, she's guilty of harassment. I'm saying she's praying quietly. This isn't harassment. And when Crab Race says, stop being selfish, you're not the only person in the world. This is absolutely harassment. It's designed to appear normal, but the actual presence is absolutely designed to harass others. And I said, with that logic, the state can define harassment to be anything it feels like. People love you, like you love to support political expression until it goes against your narratives. I think you have a right to worship however you feel like, as long as you aren't violating that. If people want to consider masturbation as more worship and they aren't hurting anyone else, I think they should be able to do it in public as well. And remember, legal but stigmatized when the nap isn't being violated. Then we have being against massacres is flippant, according to certain people who shall not be named, from Amazing Barracuda 496, and they were posted about this Bolivian labor massacre in 2019, I think it was. And I said, for a lot of people, it depends on who is doing the massacring. Look at how many people justify it when Israel does it, but also those who justify it when Hamas/Palestine does it. You know, it's not very much who does the massacre, or whatever. It's not very much what the massacre, but who does the massacre. You know, because people justify violence when their side does it. You know, compare the people who think January 6th was the worst thing ever versus the summer 2020 riots and vice versa. And I bet if those two groups, the groups who did those switched, suddenly the people who think they're the worst thing ever probably would too. So you know, it's just important to remember that the people who do things are a lot more important than the things they're actually doing to a lot of extent these days. Then we have another mass shooter, 18 dead in Lewiston, Maine, from Newsweek.com by Clorox. And I said, not a reason to take guns from nonviolent people. You know, the thing is, you know, the people will justify if they justify. If a mass shooter wants a gun badly enough, they will get one. Gun control only impacts otherwise law-abiding gun owners. So that's important to remember how, you know, if people want something badly enough, they'll find a way to get it anyway. So, you know, that's why we shouldn't justify gun control for stopping shooters, I would say, you know, because we need to support free speech for the right for people to have whatever they want as long as they're not violating the NAP. And, you know, just because this guy violated the NAP doesn't mean everyone's going to violate the NAP. So that's important to remember as well, I would say. Then we have Good Friday on Healthcare from Ruin My Circle Jerk, and that's a thread cross post from the Libertarian subreddit. Lots of people who could use a lot of educational healthcare. I personally would say, you know, healthcare, you know, it's you know, I think we should make it as easy to access as possible. At the same time, it isn't a right. It's important to remember that, you know, you're not entitled to the labor of others, and that is something that we need to remember. And yeah, so I think if you want someone to pay for your healthcare, I think you should be able to. But I don't know if you want the state to pay for your healthcare and you want to put your tax money into that, I think you should be able to. But at the same time, I think if you want the private enterprise to pay for your healthcare as well, I think you should be able to as also. Then we have Joe Biden wants to permit gun manufacturers to be sued for their guns being used in shootings. Will foreign nationals murdered with weapons manufactured by American companies be allowed to sue as well? From LP National on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, car accidents are roughly as deadly as mass shootings if there is no push to sue auto manufacturers because the narrative doesn't say so. So I think, you know, I think people should be able to sue whoever they want to, I would say. But just because someone makes something doesn't mean they're responsible for someone killing someone else with it. You know, if I sell you a car and you commit vehicular homicide with it, you know, you're the one who's guilty, not me, you know. So I think, you know, you sell whoever you want to. But just remember that doesn't mean that you are the one who's ultimately responsible for what they decide to do with said product. So that's my argument there. Then we have The Obsolete Man from Wikipedia, and that's linked to the Twilight Zone article, episode of the Twilight Zone article from 1961. I said, probably one of those libertarian television episodes ever. My view of it is that the state wants people to view itself as the only source of legitimate authority and wants to control people as much as possible, but it's important to remember that the state only has as much power as you give them. Like Wordsworth in the episode, just because the state can kill you doesn't mean you have to let them win by doing it. It's why I view my faith as something that is very important when it comes to standing against the state. Remember, the Romans are the Christians' lions, but Christianity lives on while the Roman Empire is long gone. Then we have Totalitarian Democracy, another Wikipedia article from me. And I said, definitely feel like the system we live under nearly less currently. and thoughts. And I said, just because we don't live in North Korea, therefore you can't really complain about the government here in the U.S. That's some logic some statists try to use. I don't think that's true. I also think it's shown we can't fix the U.S. government's broken beyond repair, in my opinion. So that's why I think we just gotta tear it down and start anew, I would say. So, also, just because your rights are not according to what a bunch of random people think they are, they come from you and you alone. Just because someone is elected does not give them legitimate authority to rule over you. Authority is only legitimate when you consent to it as such. And finally, we have ceasefires necessary from International Civil War 1. That's a tweet from Green Party US. And I definitely would agree that we should justify having ceasefires all over the world, and people should just get along and stop believing in this collectivist, authoritarian, ethnic, religious mentality, and just get along with other people and just keep their ethnic stuff and their religious stuff to themselves, and just let other people do the same. So that's my thoughts there. Then we have the results are in. School choice works. Remove my circle jerk, and that's a post from the Austin American Statesman. And I definitely would agree. We should be allowing people to do whatever they want when it comes to school, and not forcing them to go down specific paths. So I think we're gonna wrap it up there, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.